It is Tuesday the 25th of May and you're joining us already kicked off 6 minutes into a qualifying session here for round 3 of the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. And for those of you that don't recognise it, welcome to the beautiful Italian state of Bologna, where you join us for the Imola GP circuit with these touring cars. As mentioned, by a bit of a admin error on my part, we are already just coming into 6.5 minutes of qualifying. Pro Fubby currently leading the charge with a 152.181 with Dan right behind him, just shy of 3/4 of a second. Spankmeyer also looking as though he's pretty handy around this Imola circuit too. He's 1.2 seconds away from the pole position time of Pro Fubby at the moment. Pro Fubby in the pits, as is S2N Remy, but we are currently tracking round Luke, who is operating under the number 19 PCCF car. Currently residing in 6th place, just been knocked down by Al Axon. Al coming in with a 153.9 to push Luke down a little bit. A lot of the pack looking pretty well spread out, just most of the grid trying to find their groove. Track limits will be a bit of an issue around this circuit in these touring cars. We could just see there Luke just breaching the track limits ever so slightly. The race director will be punishing them for that. And for those of you that missed last week's absolute drama at the Red Bull Ring National Circuit, what a race it was. It really proved to be just absolute door-to-door racing from start to finish. Linga Bazinga ended up taking the win, Dan in 2nd place for that one, and that's done their standings the world of good into the championship, with Linga Bazinga now tied in 1st place with Pro Fubby on 62 points in the championship so far. Dan also just 2 points behind in 2nd place. Also worth noting as well, Booth Jumbo had a great showing in his first time around in the Red Bull Ring National. He's just coming out at the moment, looks as though he's just about to begin his hot lap. In fact, this one could actually just be a registered time. Let's see where this puts him. I think it's the start of his hot lap. It is indeed. He's only 13th at the moment with a 2:08. Expect that to jump right up. Came into the touring cars with a real bang, getting a podium around the Red Bull Ring National. Unfortunately, we have lost Lecky for the season. His place is now going to be taken up by S2N Remy, who finished 11th last time out in his maiden voyage in the number 4. In fact, he wasn't running in the number 4 Zavima, he was actually operating in the number 2 Momo Corsa. He's since changed cars up into the number 4 Zavima, where he will remain for the rest of this season. And expect big things from S2N Remy. We've seen him in a few of the other championships as well. Looks as though he might be a sort of competent midfield contender, throwing it out for the remainder of the season. Just coming through to the halfway point now inside this qualifying session, and just to give you a bit of a weather forecast, it's looking nothing but hot here in Bologna, despite the wet weather that we've got coming across the British Isles at the moment. Where I'm currently speaking from, it's wall-to-wall sunshine here in Italy, and what a beautiful day for throwing down in a touring car it is as well. Linga Bazinga has since gone 2nd. He's still over half a second away from the pole position time of Pro Fubby so far. And Pro Fubby will be looking to build upon what was probably a disappointing position for him last week at the Red Bull Ring National. 4th place in the end, and not many drivers would be disappointed with a 4th place, but Pro Fubby is always amongst the podium, and just lost out on what could be some vital points, especially if Linga Bazinga can improve that pace ever so slightly and get himself even closer to that pole position time of a 152.181. Let's have a look over to Linga Bazinga. Number 25, Hakeem Renault Megane. We have, of course, got almost a full field of Renault Meganes, as always the case here in the FMTCC. Few notable mentions though. Chris 94 M Sport running in the number 35 team Graventech Vauxhall Astra, or Opel Astra depending on which side of the English Channel you live on. Also, we've got Darnell operating in the number 68 IBAC BMW. Snarling Bongo unfortunately not feeling too good, so he won't be joining us today. He's also operating in one of the SRT BMWs, and of course Old Smokey in that mist BMW as well. Looks as though he's not yet set a time, currently sat in the pit lane, and that's starting to become a common theme from Old Smokey, maybe trying to make it up from the back. Just having a look at the timing boards at the moment. S2N Remy is going quicker that last time around before he entered the pits. Porsche Man is also on for a bit of a flyer here as well, as we see Linga Bazinga losing that back end. I think that is either Spankmeyer or Wardy chasing up behind in the SRT Renault Megane. See if I can catch a glimpse of that number. I'm not too sure which one it is. But Linga Bazinga's abandoned this lap. He's going to continue getting some heat into those tyres and come back at it one more time, I believe. So currently looking through the lineup, Pro Fubby is in pole position, looking like he's pretty clear ahead as well. Linga Bazinga in second place. Looks as though he's going to be abandoning this lap and coming at it one more time. Down in third with Al Axon in fourth place, Spankmeyer in fifth. I think that might be the car of Spankmeyer that we just see ahead of Linga Bazinga. Looks as though another abandoned lap, maybe trying to pick up the draft from Linga. Wait and see how that pans out. Chris 94 M Sport, Luke Streets is in sixth place. Chris 94 M Sport in seventh with Wardy in eighth, Kovkarl in ninth. S2N Remy has made it up into 10th place with Porsche Man in 11th. Green Gaming in the BMW also 12th position for him, with Darnell not too far behind, well, a couple of seconds behind so far, struggling it seems in the BMW. Booth Jumbo also not registering much of an improvement in his lap times, which could well be making me eat my words as Linga Bazinga begins yet another hot lap here. So look over to Booth Jumbo, let's see whether or not he is getting a lap together in the console's old team liveries and the team ACR. Just keeping an eye out on his sectors, and we'll have a look as they come in. And yeah, huge improvements being made in the sectors as he comes through Tosa. Little puff of smoke there, and just controlling the understeer into oversteer through Piratella. Booth Jumbo certainly looks as though he's going to be on for a good one here. He's currently about 3 or 4 tenths away from most of the top runners through Sector 1. We'll see what his Sector 2 time comes out at in just a couple of corners time as he comes into the real tough braking area here of Variante Alta. Down the hill, for those of you that don't know the circuit, it is of course 18 corners in total, famous for plenty of right reasons and also some pretty tragic ones as well. But it's a love it or hate it circuit, this Imola one. Most tend to love it, and it really can be a bit of a handful depending on the car that you take. I find that it's exceptionally good fun inside these touring cars, not quite as easy as you'd expect, trying to balance through some of the understeer and trying to get the power down without scrubbing too much speed off. Booth Jumbo does register a hot lap time in the end. It's good enough for 6th place. He's going to be out for at least one more with 4 litres of fuel, so we'll keep our eye out on any improvements being made there. Let's have a look over to Dan now. He's just kicking off another hot lap. Looks as though his Sector 1 time is looking pretty good in this one. 36.105 the Sector 1 time for Dan currently. And of course this does kick off round 3 across all of the Flux Motorsport touring car, all the Flux Motorsport championships that we're operating on Project Cars 2. The touring cars always comes first. Of course you can catch up with the GT1s on Thursday night. Join DJ Redders and McToasty live from 8 PM UK time, around about 3 in the afternoon if you're watching Eastern Standard Time. GT1s this week taking on the Willow Springs circuit in the US of A. Another absolute Marmite track as we throw down those GT1s in the desert. Then on Fridays you can join us for our GTE Championship. This operates out of an American time zone, so this will be brought to you live 8 PM Eastern Standard Time on Friday evening. Or if you're watching in the UK, you can also catch that Saturday morning around about 1 o'clock AM for the GTE Championship. And then comes the turn of the IndyCar Championships next. IndyCar's another American operated championship. You'll be able to catch those Saturday nights at 8 PM Eastern Standard Time, taking on Long Beach's GP circuit this week. And just like the GTEs, you can catch up on that if you're watching in the UK or Europe from around about 1 AM Sunday morning. 3 minutes remain inside the qualifying though of round 3 here at the FMTCC. Pro Fubby still leading the charge. Dan has got a little bit closer, shaving off a couple of tenths to find himself in second place alongside Pro Fubby on the front row if it ends up this way. But Pro Fubby looks as though he's rounding up for another couple of hot ones. 7 litres worth of fuel in there, so he's going to have enough for a couple of laps. He is on for a hot one as well. Those tyres are looking perfect to throw down a couple of laps. Doesn't look as though his delta's coming in though through Sector 1. Maybe catching a little bit of turbulent air from the cars that are ahead of him. Looks as though Booth Jumbo has made an improvement. He's gone green in Sector 1 as well. So has Darnell. Darnell looking to make an improvement. Currently in 14th position. He'll try and get himself up. Maybe challenging Green Gaming, maybe even Wardy to get himself just outside of the top 10 perhaps. Who knows, maybe he'll surprise. He has gone green in Sector 2 as well. He's about 2 seconds, maybe 2.5 seconds off the pace of some of the other drivers. So it's not going to be challenging any of the guys at the top, but it will put him in amongst the top 10, it seems. And of course, we all know from past experience how well that BMW gets off the line. That might well see him make up 3, maybe even 4 or 5 places come the start of this race. Al Axon's made an improvement. Looks as though that is enough for 4th place. Comes into the pits, and that is going to be Al Axon's session done, I think. He sits just shy of 1 second behind the current best of Pro Fubby. Pro Fubby now kicking off one more hot lap, whereas Linga Bazinga has come inches away from Pro Fubby's time. He's still on for a hot one. No traffic, but it looks as though he's binned it there. And that is Linga Bazinga done for the day. So pressure now onto Dan to see whether or not he can capture or recapture that second place. Pro Fubby comes into the pits. That is job done from him. Let's focus on to Dan as he chases down. I do believe that that's the Monster Energy of Porsche Man ahead of him. Porsche Man also on for a hot lap here. Just having a look at his deltas. He's not too much going on that last lap around, but let's see what happens as he crosses the sector marker of Sector 1. Looking way off the... Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong person. Porsche Man is actually on for an improvement here. 37.813. So Porsche Man now looking to get up and amongst maybe 10th or 11th place if he can hold this one together. Dan decides enough is enough. He returns to the pits. So let's go over to Spankmeyer. 36.241 from Spankmeyer as he crosses through the first sector. It's not his quickest, but it's not too far away from most of the quick guys. You can just see him there tiptoeing over the race and track limits. Just managing to keep it in though, and that is going to be the quickest way to take what is a pretty tricky corner through Acqua Minerale. You've got the heavy braking zone coming out of Piratella, which can throw you off. It's actually flat through the first kink of Piratella, and then hard onto the brakes, chucking it up that hill through the S, and then nothing but throttle all the way down to Variante Alta. Spankmeyer doesn't make an improvement in the end, so we feature over to Luke Streets. in the number 19 PCCF. This is that section that I was just on about. Coming through Piratella now, he's going to be almost flat through there, maybe a bit of a lift, and then hard into the brakes, up through Aqua Minerale, and then back onto the throttle, trying to gain as much speed as you can into this heavy braking chicane of Variante Alta. Real tricky corner, this one. You catch too much of that sausage curb and you're going to be on two wheels come the exit of the corner, and you're also going to have the virtual race steward as well trying to throw a time penalty at you. Does look as though this is going to be a big improvement from Luke Streets. I don't think it's going to be enough to challenge Spankmeyer, but it's certainly going to cement his 7th place. And we saw from last week at the Red Bull Ring National that this guy's got some talent. He's not afraid to throw down either, going door to door with other drivers. So keep your eye on that number 19 PCCF. It's going to be in and amongst plenty of cars. They're really throwing amongst the action. Comes across the line then, Luke Streets, and it is an improvement. As suspected, it's not enough for a position change. Let's have a look over to Chris 94 M Sport though. He's just about to finish up his lap. This looks as though it is going to be a marked improvement as well. Just 1.5 tenths it seems coming away from that. So this is your lineup for race 3 of the FMTCC. Pro Fubby picks up the bonus point for pole position and finds himself 1800ths of a second ahead of Linga Bazinga in the end. Linga Bazinga in 2nd place, making up the front row. Dan VWB is 3rd in the championship. He's also 3rd on the grid, ahead of Al Axon Olu82 in 4th position. Booth Jumbo in 5th with Spankmeyer in 6th. And we saw there Luke Streets coming across the line in 7th place, just ahead of the Italian in Chris 94 M Sports. Just getting a bit of word as well that Luke Streets was actually running in wet tyres following on from the wet race last week. So that is why his time was so hampered. Kovkarl in 9th position, ahead of Green Gaming in 10th. Wardy in 11th, struggling slightly out there today it seems, but he qualifies ahead of S2N Remy 73, who makes his debut in the number 4 Zavima Renault Megane. Porsche Man in 13th position with Darnell in 14th, and Old Smokey did set a time in the end, comes out in 15th in that missed BMW. So that's our grid, 2 minutes worth of setup time now. The guys are going to have to get their pit strategies nailed down, trying to compensate for any damage sustained, and also trying to get those tyre setups just right for when they come in, should they want to change any rubber. It's going to be a hot one out there today. We can see the track temperature 112 degrees Fahrenheit with an ambient temperature of 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is going to be hot indeed. And those tyres are definitely going to take a bit of punishment. Let's have a look over through our grid then for today. Start off with Pro Fubby in the number 55, Imochi. Linga Bazinga in the number 25, Hakeem. Dan in the number 1, Momo Corsa, with Al Axon in his familiar number 11, Air Bubbles. Booth Jumbo in the number 6, Team ACR. Oh, beg your pardon, it's number 8, Team ACR. Spankmeyer in the number 66, SRT. Luke Streets in the number 19, PCCF. And Chris 94 M Sport in the number 35, Team Graventech Vauxhall Astra. Kovkarl in the number 20 PCCF, with Green Gaming operating in the number 27 SRT BMW. Wardy in the number 65 SRT, with S2N Remy in that number 4 Zavima. Porsche Man in the number 86 Monster Energy. Darnell in the number 68 Ibach BMW, and Old Smokey operating in the Mist BMW. 20 seconds remaining in the Tinker Time, and then we're going to get underway here. Keep your eyes peeled for the entry into turn 1. It's going to be pretty tight, and those BMWs are going to be trying to make the moves as much as possible. Red lights followed by green, and we're away here at Imola for round 3 of the FMTCC. No drama it seems, and it looks as though Pro Fubby holding on to his lead. Linga Bazinga having a little look around the outside. He's going to have to go a long way around though if he's going to make that one stick, and it looks as though Booth Jumbo making... Oh sorry, I think it was Dan actually making moves up the inside. Definitely stemmed off the competition there. All looks as though we're away pretty safely. The pack looks pretty well grouped up, although we have got a nice wide racing circuit here at Imola, so avoiding track one drama is to be expected really. And the rest of the field pulls away. All drivers still out on track. In fact, it looks as though, yeah, it's Darnell who's actually slipped to the back in the BMW, maybe struggled to just get the power down, whereas Old Smokey's made up 3 places straight away off the bat, finds himself up into 12th. So Pro Fubby leads the race ahead of Linga Bazinga, Dan in 3rd, Al Axon in 4th with Booth Jumbo in 5th. And let's have a look just on board now with Kovkar. We'll jump into the track with him because he's got a great little train going on ahead of him. That is Luke Streets ahead with Spankmeyer, Booth Jumbo, Al Axon, Dan Linga, and then of course the race leader as we come through the perilous curves there of Variante Alta and back down the hill now to Rivatsa. Let's go on board with Dan. Let's have a look at what Linga Bazinga's doing to try and upset our current race leader of Pro Fubby. Remember, those 2 cars that are ahead are currently challenging for the championship, both joint first in the championship after 2 races on 62 points each. And Linga Bazinga will be hungry to try and add yet another championship notch to his belt. Just see him there going around what will be the outside into turn 1, which is this little left-hand kink, and then maybe having a look for a bit of a cutback into turn 2 and 3. He is trying to pull off that cutback. Is he going to get it done? I don't think he is, and in fact he's going to come under pressure now from Dan VWB. Plenty of other cars in the mix as well, trying to hunt down for that position. That cameraman focuses up onto Pro Fubby. Barely losing any traction there. We just see, I think it was Booth Jumbo just getting a little bit too off course. That's probably going to be a warning from the race director telling them to slow down. Spankmeyer has actually gone quickest in Sector 1. Purple Sector 1 from Spankmeyer, 36.640. That will speed up as soon as these cars get away from one another. However, you can see how closely the train is currently running, and we've got Booth Jumbo being challenged by Al Axon here. There's plenty of cars on the back of him as well. Little puff of smoke there from Al Axon into the braking of Aqua Minerale. No drama it seems. Looks as though most cars all keeping within the train between first and last place. It's 20 seconds, which sounds like an eternity, but it's not much really, especially considering Darnell really struggled to get that BMW off the line. Rest of the cars looking pretty tidy, pretty close as well. Let's have a look what Old Smokey's doing as he makes a move up the inside of Green Game, and is he going to make that one stick? The two come very close. He ends up relinquishing the position and maybe having a little bit of a look for a cutback through Vatsa. Just missed out on getting that track position to make the cutback work, but he's got the other BMW of S2N, of Green Gaming to cope with, and S2N Remy just ahead of them as well. So there's plenty of positions still to be made up here, and you can also see Wardy riding the slipstream, having a little look up the inside. Is he going to get that done under braking? He's not. He has to fall back into position from Old Smokey and come at it again. Looks as though the BMW just a little bit more composed under braking that time around. So Pro Fubby continues to lead the race. Linga Bazinga in second. Dan is pretty secure in third as well. Booth Jumbo is being challenged by Al Axon, Luke Streets and Spankmeyer, as well as Kovkar as well. That looks to be a real close group. We saw them battling it out last week at the Red Bull Ring National, and it looks as though we're going to be in store for another absolute thriller with that group as well, as Al Axon moves up a position. We now focus back over to Booth Jumbo. He's running in the number 8 Actrol Vision. That's Al Axon that you can see just behind them. Looks as though Luke Streets has lost out a little bit of pace and now sits about 5 or 6 car lengths behind the back of that Team Air Bubbles car of Al Axon. And in fact, Luke Streets is now coming under pressure from Spankmeyer. Spankmeyer looks as though he's got the inside sorted so long as he can hold on to it into the braking of Rivazza. He's going to have to be brave onto the brakes. In fact, it looks as though Luke is wise to it. Late onto the brakes, however, scrubbed off a load of speed and now comes under increased pressure. We've got a bit of a PCCS sandwich with Spankmeyer in the middle in that SRT. So that is Luke Streets in the number 19 ahead with the yellow wing mirrors. Spankmeyer in the middle, and then Kovkarl in the number 20 PCCF with those green mirrors as well. They're going to come and bring it down into turn 2 here for the start of the first variant, and it looks as though Spankmeyer really lost out through that. Falls back into 8th position behind Kovkarl, and he's going to come under pressure from Chris 94 M Sport if he's not careful. Meanwhile, Linga Bazinga has taken the lead. Looks as though Pro Fubby's had a little bit of a mistake, and Dan has moved up into 2nd as well. So apologies for that. We'll focus back onto our race leaders, and let's see whether or not Linga Bazinga can hold off those two very quick guys behind him. Linga Bazinga also got the purple lap last time around with a 152.977, so that was enough to, at least for now, hold on to that bonus point. Linga Bazinga now looks as though he's going to be challenged up the inside, perhaps by Dan. Dan just having a little bit of a look. Hold the pace to get onto it, and now Dan is coming under increased pressure from Pro Fubby. Pro Fubby's going to be impatient, sitting back in 3rd place. He's going to want to try and get that position back as soon as possible. It's not going to be easy though. You can see in the opening laps of this race how close it was between both Pro Fubby, Dan and Linga Bazinga, and looking at their lap times as well, there's barely anything in it. Let's have a look at what happens when they come back across the line. Linga Bazinga put in a real quick one last time around. Let's see whether or not he can match his previous pace. He can't. It looks as though it's gone plenty slower, about 3 seconds slower there from Linga Bazinga. So Linga Bazinga leads, Dan in 2nd, Pro Fubby in 3rd with Booth Jumbo in 4th. Al Axon is in 5th place with Luke Streets in 6th, closely followed by both Kovkarl and Spankmeyer has since been able to catch right back up. You see Booth Jumbo and Al Axon now were in and amongst these two. Linga Bazinga falls back into 3rd place, Dan into the race lead. Half a second ahead of Pro Fubby now. This race really could be anybody's as we come into the first 10 minutes of race time gone. 45 minutes will be operated in all of our championships here on Project Cars 2. So you always know what to expect. It will always be accelerated tyre wear and performance impacted damage, all except for the Indy cars, which just burn their tyres much too much to be running on accelerated. And if you want to get yourself involved in the action for next season, maybe try and put yourself down as a reserve for this season. Perhaps you just want to get out of those public lobbies and find yourself racing amongst some people that actually take it seriously, then head on over to our website www.fluxmotorsport.com, where you'll be able to join for free using the link, and you may just need to download Discord. And for those of you that aren't aware, Discord is available for all platforms no matter what you're using. It's nice and simple to use, just a few clicks on your chosen app store and you'll be racing in Flux Motorsport colours as quick as you like. So just having a look now, Pro Fubby all over the back of Dan, having a little look here and there. He's not been able to get it done. Looks as though we've just had a pretty harsh disconnection. Looks as though we've just lost 3 drivers in one fair swoop. Just going through my list and trying to see who it is that we might have lost. Looks as though Darnell has gone. Still got Wardy, still got In fact, it looks as though Dan has been pulled out. Pro Fubby now into the lead with Linga Bazinga in second. Dan has been brutally pulled out of this race. It looks as though we've lost Spankmeyer as well. Triple disconnection, really punishing a lot of the field there, and that is not what we want to see, especially with two of the front runners being pulled out of the race. Pro Fubby now gets gifted the lead, and Linga Bazinga is currently holding off Booth Jumbo, it seems. You just saw there Pro Fubby catching loads of that curb, getting bounced up, and just manages to hold on to it. Let's have a look whilst we see some of the comments coming in from Dan as well. So we can see there the board is currently littered with penalties. Pro Fubby with 2, Linga Bazinga with 1, Booth Jumbo with 2 as well. Al Axon is clear from penalties, with Luke Streets with 4 seconds, Kovkarl with 2, and then Chris 94 and S2N Remy both clear from penalties as well. So Pro Fubby's lead is diminishing from Linga Bazinga here as we come through turn 1 into turns 2, 3 and 4. Don't think we're going to see any moves being done into Tamburello. It's a pretty risky place to do it. You have to be really confident that you're going to get that one done, otherwise you're going to have a very angry driver on the other side. These three look very evenly matched in terms of lap times so far. Booth Jumbo actually coming off a little bit quicker last time around than the two drivers ahead of him, as we see him there running very wide indeed. That is going to be yet another slowdown penalty, and that is probably going to be Booth Jumbo with another second or two. 32 minutes and 40 seconds remaining inside this one. Pro Fubby leads the race ahead of Linga Bazinga. Booth Jumbo in third. Spankmeyer and Dan brutally disconnected from the lobby. It looks as though we also lost Darnell at the same time. 3 drivers lost through disconnection, and 2 of them inside the top 5. Let's have a look what's going on a little bit further down the field. Looks as though Kovkarl has just managed to take Luke Streets on the run-up to Variante Alta. Looks as though we just maybe had a little bit of overspeed, or perhaps Luke had a slowdown penalty, so the 2 teammates switch places there in 5th and 6th place. Also looks as though Porscheman has been able to catch back up to the back of Old Smoky a little bit further down. The 2 continue to battle on. You can just catch the glimpse of Chris 94 M Sport there in the background. The Vauxhall Astra not suited to this circuit so much. It definitely lacks on that sort of top end. Makes up for it in cornering ability, but it just doesn't have the legs for some of the long straights that Imola has to offer, unfortunately for him. Race 4 in the FMTCCs might just fare slightly better. We actually head over to Monza for the GP circuit there, where you've got some pretty long straights again, but some pretty high-speed corners where the Vauxhall Astra might just be able to fall into its own. So with 30 minutes remaining, Pro Fubby continues to lead this one. Linga Bazinga in second place, around about half a second away, with Booth Jumbo another half a second or so away in third. Al Axon in fourth, with Luke Streets in fifth. We're currently tracking him around this circuit. He's now got a pretty extensive lead of 1.5 seconds to Kovkarl. Let's have a look at the timing board and have a look at those penalties, both of them with 4 seconds worth of penalty as well. Chris 94 M Sport in 7th place, ahead of S2N Remy, with Wardy in 9th, Old Smoky in 10th, Porscheman in 11th, and Green Gaming now at the back of the pack in 12th position. Back over to our 3 at the front. Pro Fubby is still maintaining that gap to Linga Bazinga. Linger's certainly going to have his work cut out, I think, to try and get past Pro Fubby. He really looks as though he's fallen into his groove now. And you don't get such an impressive run that Pro Fubby got last season in the FMTCC by giving away positions easily. He's going to do everything that he can, especially towards the later stages of this race, to make sure that he stays in that first position. Just having a look, looks as though Linga Bazinga actually went quickest last time around. 152.820 from Linga Bazinga. That is the fastest lap of the race, and it will be worth a bonus point if he manages to keep hold of it come the end of that. You can see how composed both drivers look on the way up the uphill chicane. Linga Bazinga looks as though he's actually piling on the pressure here into the slipstream as they come into the heavy braking of the Alta section. Back onto the throttle, and Booth Jumbo is just struggling to keep tabs with these guys now. 28 minutes remaining inside the race. We're just coming up to the halfway point here in round 3 of the FMTCC. It was looking to be a really exciting race. Looks as though, due to a disconnection, it's been spread out ever so slightly, but that doesn't take away the excitement of these front runners lapping so close, going toe to toe, lap in, lap out. So Linga Bazinga takes the sort of bragging rights for that last lap with a 153.1 versus Pro Fubby's 153.4, and it's looking very tight indeed. See the marbles just forming up on the end of that track. The rubbers on these cars are definitely going to start to get burnt out come the end of this race. Just looking at the track temperatures, it's still getting even hotter here. No wind to speak of, and 114 degrees Fahrenheit here on track in certain positions. So those tyres, with that accelerated tyre wear, are certainly going to be losing their grip quicker than a regular operating window. Looks as though Kovkar and Luke Street still duking it out in those PCCF cars. Also got a bit of a battle going on here between Wardy and S2N Remy. Have a look over to that. Let's just see whether or not Linga Bazinga is going to be able to pull a move up through Alta. He's not. So we'll have a look at this as Remy just has a little look up the inside of Wardy there, coming into Tosa. Wardy's going to come back at S2N Remy. Big puff of smoke there from the number 4 Zavima. Wardy just struggling to keep tabs, it seems, just a little bit off the pace. Let's see what he can do on his way up the hill here through turns 12 and 13. Just manages to hook that inside line a little bit better. Looks as though Wardy's got the benefit there, just managing to maintain traction ever so slightly. Let's see if it materialises into much as they come through 14 and 15. It's not indeed. Maybe just catches a little less of that curb and can get onto the power sooner, and that is materialising into a shortness of gap between them. Had a look to the left. He's now having a look down to the right. He's not going to be able to get that one done unless he's brave stroke stupid onto the brakes as they come through Rivatsa, and he's going to have to do it all again into the next lap. He's over to the outside though. Looks as though Wardy might have the drive to come back at him here. He's going to have to go the long way around. That will of course materialise into the inside line though come turns 1 and 2. Let's see what happens here as Wardy can just get his nose ahead. They're definitely in line with one another, and it looks as though S2N Remy just closing that door quite early on as soon as it was available to him. Smart driving there from the Dutchman. but he won't be deterred. He'll come right back at it. Meanwhile, up at the front, Pro Fubby has now stretched his lead by about 2 or 3 tenths. He's now 0.75 seconds ahead of Linga Bazinga. Booth Jumbo has fallen 3 seconds back from our current race leader. And then we've still got a battle going on between Luke Streets and Kovkarl. In fact, we'll have a little look over to that in the 2 PCCF cars. Luke Streets ahead with the yellow mirrors, and Kovkarl with the green mirrors in the number 20. Looks as though Kovkarl is actually on for a best of the day so far. He's gone green in Sector 1, green in Sector 2. Might well be answering back, and maybe Kovkarl is really starting to find his rhythm here as we've gone past the halfway point of the evening. Let's see what happens into the final 24 minutes of this race. Let's have a look at Kovkarl's final sector. It does look as though he's just lost a little bit of pace, it seems. And he is. He's currently lapping about 3 tenths slower in the final sector than Luke ahead of him. Let's get back over to the race leader and have a look at Linga Bazinga's challenge for the race lead. We'll jump into the cockpit of Linga Bazinga, have a look at the variance in line between himself and Pro Fubby. Little puff of smoke there as they reach the top of Piratella. You can see the difference in line. We've got Linga Bazinga holding on to the inside. The more traditional sort of, I'd say fast car line. Looks as though it's just losing out ever so slightly, with Pro Fubby using all of the track in that front wheel drive just to make sure that he doesn't scrub any speed off. And that tiny difference of just bouncing on the rev limiter there from Linga Bazinga, you can see the difference it makes in these evenly matched cars. Both identical except for setup. And just a little bit, about half a second on the limiter, stretches Pro Fubby maybe quarter of a car length, and these are the sort of margins that we're talking about. Zero tolerance between these two in terms of the differences of pace. It's all just about those tiny little errors or tiny little changes that get made as to who will come out on top. Pro Fubby looks as though he's the bookies' favourite so far. He's now got a 1 second lead ahead of Linga Bazinga. Looks as though we've got a bit of a battle at the back going on between Porsche Man and Green Gaming. Green Gaming has since been able to overtake Old Smokey, who looks as though he's potentially had a bit of a nightmare somewhere. He actually had quite a decent start to this race, and he was building upon his positions. Now finds himself at the back. Looks as though Green Gaming lost out a load of pace coming through Aqua Minerale up the hill on the approach to Variante Alta. He's since been able to make that back. He's now within half a second. Maybe that is just the power of the BMW versus the Renault. Definitely loses out a little bit, it seems, and both of those cars look as though they just cut a little bit too much off the exit of that corner, scrubbing the speed away, and that's not going to help their times at all. So that battle continues. Let's get back over to the battle at the front, though. We'll keep our eyes peeled on this, see if there's going to be a move made and any positions changed. Bring up the timing boards. Pro Fubby has an extra 1 second penalty to be applied to Linga Bazinga. So if it finishes like this over the line, it'll actually be Linga Bazinga who takes the race victory. Just bring up my statistics as well. Linga Bazinga also has the fastest lap of the race so far, and there is just 22 thousandths of a second between the fastest laps of both Linga Bazinga and Pro Fubby. Linga Bazinga with a 1:52.820, Pro Fubby with a 1:52.843. That is how close these two guys are running. You see the puffs of smoke there on the left hand side under braking from Pro Fubby. That's also going to be hampering his tyre wear. You can see Linga Bazinga just gets a mild advantage from that. Just gets even closer as he runs almost bumper to bumper. And we can see there the BMW, the Miss BMW of Old Smoky, just facing the wrong way momentarily. Recovers and gets himself back out on track, but it does look as though it's going to be a 12th place finish for Old Smoky. And this looks like Linga Bazinga just having a look to try and make some moves here. Let's see what can happen through Aqua Minerale. Ball up the hill, both of them hard under braking, straight onto the throttle as soon as they can. Just a little touch at the limiter again from Linga Bazinga. Just seems ever so slightly slower on his shifts, and you can just see that made up by a couple of inches difference when they reach the braking point of Variante Alta. See our eye in the sky there from the chopper. Try and catch a glimpse of them as they come over the crest of turn 16 next time around. See there, Linga Bazinga really riding those track limits. I don't know whether or not that'll be a slowdown penalty. He needs to make sure that he avoids them though, because that slowdown penalty could well give him the race victory if he finishes in this sort of position. Both of them remain, so Pro Fubby has 2 seconds worth of penalty. Linga Bazinga with a single second just has a little look up the inside, trying to dupe Pro Fubby into covering off the inside. He then moves straight over to the outside. Cheap tactics from Linga Bazinga, but let's see whether or not they'll work. It looks as though Pro Fubby is wise to them. You can see I don't blame Linga Bazinga for trying, but Pro Fubby is just going to run his own race here, not get sucked up into any dogfights. Old Smoky comes into the pits. I think that's our first pit stop of the day. I think it's to recover some damage sustained. His BMW looked all sorts of shapes as we saw him returning back to track a couple of laps ago. So 17 and a half minutes remaining inside this race. It's been a dominant performance from Pro Fubby and Linga Bazinga. We also had Dan in the mix for that, as well as Booth Jumbo, Spankmeyer and Al Axon were also there or thereabouts in the opening stages of the race. They since dropped off. Unfortunately, we would have seen Dan in and amongst these two at the front, but due to a disconnection, unfortunately has to spectate from the YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of the action here at Flux Motorsport as we bring you our 4 championship races throughout the week, then be sure to hit that bell icon after you subscribe. And of course, we'd love to know your comments. Leave a comment or a like if you like what we're putting out. And if you want to keep in touch with us, don't forget you can also do so on our social media accounts. You'll find us at Flux Motorsport on both Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And it looks as though Linga Bazinga now is going to try and get this move done. He shifts over to the outside. We might well see him try and pull off that cutback once again. Thinks about it. Is he going to go up the inside? He's not. This time he falls back in line. Real close racing between these two as they both try and get the measure of one another. It doesn't come much cleaner than this as we jump back onto the cockpit of Linga Bazinga. And look at the way they got that drive away. We just saw him having to lift out slightly just to avoid making contact with the rear end of Pro Fubby. And the dogfight continues. Let's bring up the timing boards. Let's see what the penalties are like. They're both even now, so they're both racing for position. Linga Bazinga has lost out on his 1 second penalty bonus that he would have carried across the finish line. Both drivers racing for position. But Smokey's still in the pits. That is some serious repairs that he's got going on there. So lap 16 of round 3 here in the FMTCC. We are of course at the beautiful Imola circuit in Bologna, Italy, where we will be beginning a little 2-stop Italian tour. Next week of course we head over to Monza and their GP circuit. It's going to be a very long track for these touring cars, but plenty of twists and turns to really get the power down of these front wheel drive, or predominantly front wheel drive grid that we have. It's going to be interesting as it caps off our halfway point already here into Season 2 of 2021. Year definitely flies when you're having fun. 14 minutes remain and the dogfight continues between Pro Fubby and Linga Bazinga. Let's see what happens in the final stages. Linga Bazinga getting mighty close there. Oh, he's going to lose it. He's going to hit the wall as well. Oh, it just was too good to be true. Heavy damage sustained there from Linga Bazinga, and Pro Fubby can pretty much drive off into the sunset here in the final 14 minutes. Linga Bazinga's going to do really well to avoid a pit stop. Let's have a look at the front end of that Renault Megane. What's he got? He's got about 9 or so seconds, maybe even less, 8 seconds it seems, lead to Booth Jumbo. So he's going to want to try and stay out of the pits. It's going to be a pretty heavy pit stop. Could just see Booth Jumbo there coming up into the background. And it really is going to be a challenge to keep this car competitively quick to make sure he doesn't lose out too much of that lead. But looks as though as he came out of it was coming out of Tamburello, just got a little bit too much of the grass it seems, then caught traction on the inside and it just turned that car around. So unfortunate, so easily done though as well on this circuit. You can see when the curb runs out it just goes onto dirt and grass and just not going to have much traction at all on some already worn tyres. See whether or not he sticks it out. I think he will do. Linga Bazinga, the GT1 champion of course, he's pretty well tuned in driving a car with damage. You've got to be used to it inside those GT1 cars, so he'll be trying to push as hard as he can for the remaining 12 minutes or so of this race and should still secure a second place finish. So look over to Booth Jumbo. Let's just see what his last lap time was. I'd expect him to have come and been able to gain plenty of time onto Linga Bazinga following Linga's crash, but he's not made that much up. He was about 2 seconds off his previous lap time it seems. And let's just give Linga Bazinga a bit of a chance. So Old Smoky remains inside the pits. Pro Fubby leading the race, Linga Bazinga in second, Booth Jumbo in third with Alaxon in fourth, Luke Streets in fifth place, Kovkar in sixth, Chris 94 M Sport in 7th place with Wardy in 8th, S2N Remy in 9th, with Porsche Man in 10th, Green Gaming in 11th, and Old Smoky somehow still inside the pits. It might well have rebuilt that BMW from top to bottom. I'm assuming that that is a bit of a glitch that we've got going on. He has in fact retired for the race. Pro Fubby with a dominant display in the end. It was looking mighty close between him and Linga. Linga will be fuming. There would have been some choice words inside that helmet as soon as he knew that he was losing traction. And there was nothing to do. An absolute passenger as he headed towards the wall, picked up a load of front end damage, and we can see that reflected in his lap times. He's now lapping around a 2 minute. I think that'll probably be a high 1 minute 50 come the end of this. 1:55, there we go. So he is only a couple of seconds off the pace of the leader, but that couple of seconds certainly hurts. He's not losing too much time to Booth Jumbo in third place, which is the main thing. He should still be able to hold on to his second place in the end. But Pro Fubby is certainly going to be flying high after this one. He's not going to have the fastest lap of the race, so he's not going to get the triple crown that he would have wanted. But he did get the pole position, so 1 bonus point to play there. Fastest lap is still being held by Linga Bazinga, 1:52.820. I don't think that's going to be matched either. Pace has certainly slowed down as the tyre wear has risen up. Final 10 minutes of this one then, and it's pretty much petered out into a pretty settled affair. Most drivers looking pretty well spread out. We've got a bit of a gap here between Booth Jumbo and Al Axon. That's probably the closest gap that we've got on circuit, it seems. And even that isn't particularly close. But Booth Jumbo has been able to, with a little bit of luck due to the disconnections, pick up his second podium in 2 races. So back-to-back third-place finishes from Booth Jumbo, so long as he can hold on to this. He's got around about 2.5 seconds, so it would be a struggle to lose it. Certainly his to lose out on. Al Axon will be pushing pretty hard, and he's making up about half a second each lap. Just don't think he's going to have the amount of laps required, but pressure is now on for Booth. See whether or not he can hold on. Al Axon will be hungry for it. Certainly in a good position in that 4th place. He's got a big gap coming into this race between him and Dan in 3rd position. 16 points, but of course Dan was disconnected. He's not going to score for this one. So anything that Al can make up, we might well see him 3rd in the championship after this. In fact, we definitely will. Just having a look at the tables that go ahead. Al had Chris 94 M Sport, Kovkarl and Booth Jumbo behind. But Booth Jumbo with too much of a gap to make it up in just this one race. So whilst we wait for this race to close out, I am just inputting the current finishing positions just so that we can try and get an up-to-date version of the championship standings, knowing where we're up to as we go into round 4 at Monza next week. Of course, same time on Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, around about 3 in the afternoon is the start time, Eastern Standard Time. You can see there, Al Axon is getting slightly closer. He's now within 2 seconds, I believe. Just trying to bring up my latest. There we go. Yeah, 2.3 seconds currently. So he's closed the gap slightly. Don't think it's going to be enough though. 7 minutes remaining inside of this, which is going to materialise into about 3 laps. Depending on when Pro Fubby crosses the line. Let's go back over to our leader. It looks as though he's just about to come up to the back end of, I think that's Green Gaming's SRT BMW that you can see ahead. It's all petered out, and remember you can join us for race 3 of the GT1 Championship coming Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, hosted by McToasty and of course DJ Redders. We'll be taking on the dreaded Willow Springs in those GT1 cars. It's going to be a real tough race through the deserts of California. Not many people looking forward to that one. Looks as though we might have just had a change in position between Porsche Man and S2N Remy. Porsche Man has just moved up into 9th place. I don't know if that was a mistake from Remy or not. He's going to have to come back to Porsche Man in not very much time if he wants to try and get that one back. Looks as though he's losing out on quite a bit of time as well. 2 seconds that last lap around. It looks as though the 2 PCCF cars are going to be battling this one out to the end as well, into the front 5 minutes, and Kovkarl is caught right back up to Luke Streets. Certainly trying to challenge here. And it looks as though, despite Booth Jumbo being able to claw back a little bit of time, he's not going to be able to find enough pace to take that second place position of the damaged Linga Bazinga. So remember folks, that website, if you want to know more about what we do here at Flux Motorsport, or perhaps you want to join up yourself and get involved in either our Project Cars 2 Championships or our new for this season Dirt Rally Championship as well, which of course you can race on any platform, PC, Xbox or PlayStation platforms, all are allowed. Head on over to our website www.fluxmotorsport.com. Also, you can keep track of all the action by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and if you want to know when the race goes live, just make sure to hit that bell icon. This continues into its final 4 minutes now. Pro Fubby continues to lead 11.2 seconds ahead of Linga Bazinga. Booth Jumbo in third with Al Axon in fourth. And then this battle for fifth place continues on between Luke Streets and Kovkarl. Chris 94 M Sport is looking pretty secure in 7th place ahead of Mr. M Ward, and with Porsche Man in 9th, S2N Remy in 10th, Green Gaming in 11th, and Old Smoky is actually retired from this race. Oh, and a big move up there under slowdown it seems, and Kovkarl moves up into 5th position, just picking the pocket there completely of Luke. Luke will come back. Mark my words, he will come back into the final 3 minutes of this race. Looking at the map just so we can try and get a good idea about whereabouts Pro Fubby is. It looks as though Pro Fubby is just coming through the first sector. Let's have a look at that. He is indeed. Get back to these two as they continue to duke it out. Coming through Rivatsa into the start-finish straight, although not too straight of a straight. 2 minutes and 30 seconds remain inside this race. That's going to equate to probably another 2 laps here, as Pro Fubby is just coming through the middle of Sector 2. Kovkarl looks as though he's got a bit of a performance edge here above Luke Streets. That could be down to tyres. It might just be due to the way that they take that first sector, because Luke looks as though he's come right back into it, pushing that Renault Megane pretty hard indeed to try and take that position back. Looks as though Al Axon is right up the chuff as well of Booth Jumbo. Booth Jumbo now is at risk of losing that back-to-back podium. Let's have a look over what's going on here. And that is Linga Bazinga that you can see ahead as well, so they've gotten even closer. I think if there was another 4 or 5 laps, I think we'd see Al Axon perhaps challenging for second place here. Unfortunate for him though, there isn't. There's only 1 minute and 27 seconds left, and Booth Jumbo is going to be his next victim if he can manage it in this final couple of laps. In fact, I do believe that this might well be the final lap of the race. We've got Pro Fubby 18 seconds ahead of these guys at the moment, so Pro Fubby is just about to cross the line, and this will be the final lap of the race here in round 3 of the FMTCC. Pro Fubby has put in a solid display. You can see from the way that number 55 Emochi hasn't got a scratch on it, just a little bit of dirt on the front bumper. Linga Bazinga though is looking a very sorry state of car after he hit the wall pretty damn hard. He has managed to keep it together though, testament to his driving ability to hold out for second place. Booth Jumbo though is being challenged for third at the moment by Al Axon, who will be pushing hard now to try and get hold of that podium spot. Continue to watch them, keeping our eye out on the track map for when Pro Fubby will cross the line. The timer is about to hit 0 though in 15 seconds, so as confirmed this will be the last lap of the race. And bouncing down the gears, and I just don't think Al Axon's got enough of a chance to get it done. Booth Jumbo's since turned on the taps, and Al Axon was actually, what is it, 0.9, oh no sorry, 0.7 0.7 of a second slower in the first sector, and he's not going to be able to make it back up. So Profubby comes down, turn 16 into Rivazza for the final time. Takes it around turn 17 and is going to cross the line to pick up the win. Flash of the lights, and well deserved indeed. It is the race victory and pole position bonus point for Profubby. Linga Bazinga comes across the line in second place with a fastest lap bonus point in there as well. Booth Jumbo looks as though he's going to hold on for third place. Don't forget though, we do have some penalties to be applied as well. So we'll see what happens there. Booth Jumbo does actually get relegated down into fourth place with Al Axon up into third. Looks as though Luke managed to get past Kovkarl in the end to take back fifth position. We'll see what happens when the penalties are applied to that one as well. See whether or not there's any change over there. But a Flamboyance over the line. Looks as though they both retain their positions. Chris 94 M Sport now takes that pretty Astra over the line. Of course, parading out the Flux Motorsport colours. It looks good indeed, that Griffin Tech. Doesn't sound too great though, that Astra. Definitely doesn't have the roar of the Megans. Comes across the line though. Solid performance. 7th again for Chris 94 M Sport. He was 7th in race 1 at Brno, 6th last week, and he crosses the line in 7th this week. Wardy does enough for 8th place, and looks as though S2N Remy is going to have the better of Porsche Man in the end for 9th position. Porsche Man comes across the line for 10th. Looks as though Green Gaming has already crossed the line on the previous lap. Finds himself a lap down, and he's going to qualify in 11th place once the timer kicks out. We'll get, of course, all of those standings confirmed once the timer runs its course. And we will, of course, have a look at what that does for the championship standings. So with the race complete, here are your championship, the race standings after race 3 here at Imola. Profubby takes the race victory. He loses out on the fastest lap to Linga Bazinga, who finishes up in second, but does get that bonus point fastest lap with a 1:52.820. Al Axon in the end, taking up the final podium spot due to a 6-second penalty to be applied to Booth Jumbo. Luke Streets takes 5th position ahead of Kovkarl, the difference being both the track position and that 3-second penalty sustained by Kovkarl. Chris 94 M Sport with a 5-second penalty, but does enough for 7th place in the end, with Wardy in 8th and S2N Remy in 9th. Porsche Man comes across the line in 10th place, and Green Gaming makes up the final driver to complete the race. And looking through our championship standings, Profubby now leads the championship by 5 points ahead of Linga Bazinga, with Al Axon now jumping up into 3rd place, 27 points back from Profubby due to Dan's disconnection. Dan still remains in 4th place in the championship with Chris 94 M Sport in 5th. Booth Jumbo moves up into 6th with Kovkarl in 7th. Luke Streets in 8th, Porsche Man in 9th, Wardy in 10th, Spankmeyer in 11th, Snarling Bongo in 12th, Green Gaming 13th, S2N Remy in 14th, and Darnell in 15th. That's all that we've got time for the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. Once again, join us next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our race at Monza's GP circuit. And of course, be sure to tune in on Thursday for the GT1 Championship live from 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you'll see the GT1s taking on the American Willow Springs circuit, and that'll be hosted and brought to you from McToasty and DJ Redders. I've been Murphy GBR. You'll see me on track on Thursday, but until then, enjoy the week ahead and thank you for tuning in. Take care and good evening.